Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about some things hobbyists need to know. What hobby tools can and can't you go cheap on? Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up your hobby game, choosing the right tool can make the difference. So let's dive in and make sure you're spending your cash wisely. Alright, so what do I mean by that? We're going to go over 3 items that you can, 3 items that are in between, and 3 items that you cannot cheap out on. These are my recommendations, obviously, so choose them as you will. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with anyone in particular. Let's get into it. All right, hobby tools that you can't go cheap on. Can you buy them cheap? Absolutely. You can go to the depot and pick up a cheap pair and they'll get the job done. Will they bend? Will they wear down over time? Absolutely. You need to replace these every once in a while. So the pro is that if you go cheap, you'll be replacing them more often. But if you go a little bit expensive, they'll be able to last a lot longer. So why do you want to go with more expensive clippers? You need the precision and quality for clean cuts. Cheap clippers leave rough edges that could damage your model. They'll cause stress marks, and they tend to actually not really cut. It's more like they're bending. Separation? That's probably not the right word or the best description of that, but you're not cutting it, you're bending the plastic instead. So my recommendation is to invest in high quality flush cutters to get a clean, crisp cut every time. It's gonna expedite your project. Number 2 is paints. Why? Because it's the foundation of our entire hobby, right? Craft paints just won't cut it when it comes to coverage, color, depth, durability, right? So my recommendations are to stick to hobby grade paints like Citadel and Vallejo, and my personal favorite, Monument Hobbies. They all have the results that you're going to be looking for and a smoother finish. Number 3, good lighting is essential. You gotta have good lighting. It's essential to see the finer details of your work. Bad lighting will cause you to miss details and makes the painting harder. So my recommendations are to invest in a solid light source, preferably something with a daylight balanced LED lamp to avoid distortion. If anything, buy 2. Or my simple solution is I'm actually using an 18-inch ring light, and so I don't really get any shadows, and that shines directly down on my workspace. And it's good for dual purposes. Now we're going to go over the weird items in between. The cheap version of these items have a purpose, and the expensive items of these also have a purpose. So let's get into it. Number 1, absolutely any day that you can go either way on, or should actually have both, is brushes. Why? You don't need to drop a ton of cash on brushes, but cheap ones shed, lose shape, and won't give you the control that you need for detailed work. But the middle ground is buying quality brushes for fine details and being your workhorse. So the weird middle ground is that when you get an old brush or your quality brush starts to get a little old, it still can serve a purpose. So you can buy cheap brushes and use them for said purpose, or when your good brushes finally die, they go to the graveyard with the rest of the old brushes. And they can still serve a purpose. That could be putting on textures, using them to stipple, and you don't care about the tip anymore. Far many different applications. All right, for my second middle ground item, it's gonna be a weird one, but it's actually airbrushes. Airbrushes are an investment. If you're talking about the airbrush itself, a general decent one is $100+. You don't need a top of the model one to figure out if you want to try airbrushing, or if you're gonna go full tilt and buy the airbrush, buy the compressor, buy the hoses, all the stuff that you need to have a top quality airbrush. There's a great entry point. I'm pretty sure I picked this up on Amazon for $25-ish. It's been a while since I purchased this, so I quite can't remember, but this is the air compressor and a battery pack, and it was a great entry item for airbrushing. So I don't airbrush that often, and when I do, this is what I use for my hobby space. Will I one day have a nice airbrush? Hopefully. Is it in my hobby budget right now? Nope. But just exactly like I said in this video, it's one of those weird in-between items. All right, number 3 for the weird items in between, and that's going to be storage solutions. You need something to organize your tools, your miniatures, your expensive storage options are often a major overkill, right? So a good middle ground is looking for affordable, practical storage bins that function without a hefty price tag. You don't need to splurge on fancy drawers and huge work bins. Something simple can just work. I'm going to show you an example here. This is something I picked up at, actually I have two of these. I have one for every army actually, eventually, right? And it's this great storage case that I picked up at my local hardware store. And inside of it is all my bits for said army. I keep them separate. Like on this particular army, one side is all vehicles and the other side is all troops. There's this beautiful little gap in here that allows me to keep my transfer sheets in there nice and organized and non-damaged, right? And there's a bunch of different little storage bins in here and you can change them and customize them slightly. I think this ran, I want to say less than 20 bucks. And for it being dual-sided is really nice. And again, this for storage, I have storage for the storage, of course, and it's just a paper printer box that also has all my spray paints and some basting materials and stuff that hides under my desk. One of the first things I bought also was the same concept, was just these one little small ones. And you see all my little bits and skulls and all kinds of extra bases and all kinds of stuff that I keep in here. This is one of the first things I bought for storage. And you know what? I don't even think I bought this. Now that I recall, I think this is from like an old fishing equipment kit that I had. Now that I really think about it, I don't think I bought this from a hardware store. There you go. Find what works around your house that you already own. All right, now we're going to go into the next three items, and that's going to be items that you can go cheap on. So items that you can go cheap on is a basing cutting mat. Do you need them? Yes, especially for building, kit bashing, and just protecting your workspace in general. So my recommendations, don't splurge, grab a budget-friendly mat, and you're good to go. All right, number two is basing materials. You can go for affordable basing materials without sacrificing quality. There's no need to really buy the high end. This is the War Painter Brown Battleground stuff. This is technically still cheap. This is $6 for this. But why buy this for $6 when you can go to a hobby store, a craft store, and buy, what is this? Coarse stone granules. I'm pretty sure I've spent $8 on this entire thing. I've had this for probably over 2 years, and I've only used this much. That's it. You can always go inexpensive option like crafting with sand or buying bulk and saving money. Oh, additional bonus item that I forgot is my best friend and should be your best friend, cork. A sheet of cork, a roll of cork will go a long way. It is probably one of the most versatile hobby basing items that you will ever purchase. Learn how to use cork and it'll be your best friend. All right, item number 3, wet pallets. Why? Because you don't need a fancy overpriced wet palette to keep your paints fresh. A basic wet palette will do the trick, save you some cash. All you need is a sponge, parchment paper, and a storage container. That's all you need. I've seen people make these out of their own Tupperwares and stuff like that. This one, I'm pretty sure I didn't even spend probably like $10, $12 on Amazon for it. And I've seen pallets go for pretty much ridiculous prices when you see stuff like this. My recommendation is there are plenty of budget-friendly wet pallets out there that are just as effective as the expensive ones. Or you can DIY it, like I said. All right, to wrap it up, you can go cheap on clippers, paints, and light. That's the opposite of what I'm supposed to say. All right, to wrap it up, you can't go cheap on clippers, paint, and lighting. They're essential for the quality of our work. Invest in these tools for better results. Again, the weird in-between items are airbrushes and storage solutions. They're items that are in between that you can find for quality and you can find for budget that have a use in our hobby for both. Items that you can go cheap for, you don't gotta go buy the name brand of these items. We tend to buy items from our local hobby stores and stuff like that, but there are cheaper alternatives that could be bought from Lobby, Home Depot, stuff like that. So again, those items are cutting mats, basing materials, and wet pallets, especially the basing materials. You can just go outside, and find some dirt or some sand or some rocks or some bark. And it's free. Respect nature though. It's important. All right, that's it for today. Now you know 3 tools that you can't and can go cheap on. Drop a comment below and let me know what tools you swear by are budget friendly and which ones are not. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our tips and tricks. Happy painting, and as always, every stroke of the brush and swing of the blade adds character to your miniature.